They are back. It's time for Red America Radio. Straight up conservative talk for today's red-blooded America. With the host of Behind the Headlines, TV's Karyn Turk, and Dr. Chris Metzler, political commentator and best-selling author. Making radio great again. Red America Radio.
Hello and welcome once again to your favorite all-around global show, Red America Radio. We're back. We really
We're back.
With, of course, my co-host, the lovely, controversial, dramatic, always in vogue, Mrs. Florida Forever, Karyn Turk.
Thank you so much. What an intro. And I'm going to stir the pot today, Chris. We got some stuff on tap today that's just going to drive people crazy. You want to talk about controversy, conspiracy theory, stirring the pot. That's going to be a big part of the episode today. And I couldn't be more excited about it. I love that shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's delicious.
It
and
is.
So I think we start off by wishing the president, the first lady, and the entire family well. We absolutely do in this age of COVID.
Absolutely. What a crazy time. And, I made a prediction on, I think it was the week before last show that Joe Biden was going to end up getting exposed. And look at here, my prediction was incorrect, and it's the president, and prayers to his family and everybody else that's been affected. And hopefully speedy recovery. He's in pretty good shape. He's doing all right. So, 99% recovery rate for someone like him. So again, hate to see anybody get sick, but really optimistic.
Absolutely. And to, of course, our beautiful First Lady, speedy recovery as well.
Absolutely. And everybody else, there's been some people within the administration and everybody else, just hoping for a good outcome. And I'm hoping the debate still goes on, because they're talking about the debate is still going to go on. Let's hope that's going to happen. And, it remains to be seen. I think the Democrats would like to get out of it, but, the show must go on.
The show must go on. And I just don't see that happening. Of course, that would be their excuse, but I don't see that happening. Let's move it. Get it done. Get her done.
Let's do it. Get her done. And this show today is one that I'm really excited about, because we've talked a lot off the record and off the show about Q Anon and exactly what is Q Anon and who is Q and what is Q and can you even follow this? And I have to tell you, the two of us are pretty smart people. We're educated. We do a radio show. We both do daily TV shows. We talk about every topic on the face of the earth and everything related to politics. But Q has been something that I have not been able to wrap my head around, and neither have you.
No, I have no idea what Q is. And so I'm looking forward to the opportunity to find out what Q is, because I've heard so many things about Q, but I don't understand it. So as a result of that, I think we'll have a very fascinating show where we talk about who is Q, what is Q, how do you recognize Q, and so I think that's going to be fantastic.
I think it's going to be great. And, there's been so much that Q, I always feel like Q sometimes is like Nostradamus, right? Nostradamus made all of these predictions, and so many of them were correct. And now we reflect back on it, we say, wow, that was so prophetic. But, Nostradamus also made a lot of predictions, so many that it almost seems like sometimes you can just piece it together and you can make it work because of the sheer number of predictions. And for me, Q really became overwhelming because there's just so much content out there, and it seems like so many Q drops. And again, I don't even understand this 8chan, 4chan, what was that? So I'm really excited about this because I haven't been able to wrap my head around this. And then there's all these candidates that are coming out now that they're calling, Q conspiracy theorists. And I myself have been called the Q conspiracy theorist. And as a Q conspiracy theorist, I have no clue about Q.
Well, see, and that's the good thing, because listen, at the end of the day, I need to know what Q is, because I'm sure I soon will be on that infamous list with you as a Q conspiracy theorist.
Listen,
Because,
you keep hanging out with me, Chris, and you're going to have all sorts of reputations. There's going to be all sorts of labels that are going to be pushed on you. I mean, you already have the whole, Black Republican, Uncle Tom thing going on, but this is going to be a whole other level now.
Yeah, I guess I'll be a Q Uncle Tamarian. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. We'll come up with a name for it. We'll come up with something. But that brings us to our guest. Do you want to announce who our guest is?
And so excited to introduce Sean Morgan. He has a fascinating course online. It is the Q course for beginners. Look, I want to delve into that in detail. And I want all of our viewers, all of our listeners also to dive into it as well. So we are talking about this from a point of knowledge and not just a point of fantasy. Although some people would say Q is fantasy, but whatever, we'll find out.
Who doesn't need a little more fantasy in their life, though? In the big scheme of things, I think fantasizing is a natural part of existence.
I agree with you 100%. Let's fantasize, romanticize, whatever it is. And now for a quick commercial.
Divided We Stand. The Search for America's Soul is the most important book of our time. Best-selling author Dr. Christopher Metzler answers, "What the heck is going on, America?" Divided We Stand is a funny, fast-paced, razor-sharp, savvy critique of the state of our union and the disastrous reign of Barack Obama. Political lion slayer, red-blooded conservative Dr. Metzler offers inspiration and a positive message to America. The way to fight back and win is principle, conviction, and a wicked sense of humor.
In the days of clickbait news and salacious eyeball-popping headlines, you must delve behind the headlines. Things can get so murky on the internet that it's hard to see. Behind the Headlines TV on YouTube delves deep to fully expose the real truth. Each episode, Karyn Turk wades through the swampy news in thigh-high boots, breaking facts down into bite-sized pieces. Subscribe to Behind the Headlines TV to see her dominate YouTube with real facts behind today's biggest stories.
And we're back. And so I am so excited to introduce our guest because it is, I think, for us, a learning experience, not just for us, but also for our audience. Again, we bring people information, we bring people guests, and they decide for themselves whether they like the guests or they like the information or not. If they don't, they don't. That's not our issue.
That's very true. And yet some of them still watch us anyway. It's amazing the amount of comments that I get that the show sucks, but yet they're still tuning in. So thank you to everybody that thinks our show sucks. I'm really glad you come on and watch us every week. We enjoy you just as much as we enjoy the audience members that actually enjoy the show.
Absolutely. And, so come on, some more people who think our show sucks. Come on
Let's
over.
do it.
And, I think it really doesn't matter whatever we say on our show. There will be a certain percentage of the population who is going to think that our show sucks because they think you suck and I suck. And so, whatever.
It's all good. It's all good. And we'll see if they think that Sean Morgan sucks. Let's get him on the phone and see if he sucks too.
Hey, Sean, welcome. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Hello, nice to meet you, Christopher.
Good to meet you. And so I'm interested really, as Karyn said, I don't understand Q. And so what we're trying to do is to figure out what it is for our own selves, but then also so we can help folks who follow us and folks with whom we interact to understand it. So that's really the purpose of our conversation today.
Great.
We need like the Q for dummies, and I know you have like Q basics, but we really I need you to dumb this thing down, like really to like a TV personality level.
Yes.
Sure. Well, I don't blame you for not getting it or understanding it. I mean, it's one of those things that's on the internet and it has to do with technology, and not everyone's tech savvy. And so if you're not tech savvy, it can be hard to even find the posts. And then if you do find the posts, it can be hard to interpret them because they're done in the Socratic method. They're done with coded language. And let's be frank, politics and geopolitics and economics are extremely complicated. We live in a complicated world. And with the overload of information, it tends to get more complicated. And so it can be a lot to wrap our head around to understand what's going on in the world. But Q is actually helping me make sense of it. And I've actually developed a new model of reality, a new model of politics in the last 3 years since I've been following the post. Because Q started in 2017. And so Q started posting on an anonymous messaging board. It's called 4chan. And this is really one of the last places on the internet where there's freedom of speech, because now if you're speaking on Facebook or Twitter, or Instagram, or what have you, these big tech giants, they're really acting tyrannical with free speech. They can shut you down. I've had my Spotify account removed. My Instagram account was ended last week. So they're censoring this information especially hard. And so that's why Team Q, because I really don't believe the Q is one person, they chose to message and really form a back channel to direct information to the public. This is an inside intel drop similar to WikiLeaks, where WikiLeaks is like a whistleblower, gives a bunch of intel, and then there's access directly to the public to that intel. I believe that this is the United States military that has a back channel to the public, so that they don't have to go through, social media or the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is completely bought and paid for by corporate media. I mean, 6 corporations really own most of the mainstream media, and that's scary. It's a scary thing. And so basically, Q has given us a little bit of information about who this team is. What they've said is that this is related to military intelligence. Now, it's not one of the 3-letter agencies like FBI, CIA, and so forth, but they say that the Army and the Navy and all these branches of the military, they have their own intelligence branches, and so that operate separately from those other intelligence agencies. And so this is a military operation, and time again, there have been proofs that it actually is. And this is something most people don't talk about. They go directly to like the deep, scary, weird stuff about QAnon, but there's a lot of things about this that smell of state-level intelligence.
That is fascinating, because that's exactly what I was wondering, because I think for many of us looking on this and not really being able to delve deep enough into it to have a full understanding of it, you see it, and I've been called a conspiracy theorist more times than I can count. I actually embrace it now. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm a conspiracy theorist. But even going beyond that, like Q is a whole other level. And there are things that have come out on these messages board and these drops. And I think sometimes it may even be the way that it's interpreted that seems too far-fetched for a lot of us. It seems too far-fetched. And I think that's what's lent to it not being taken seriously. But you saying that you believe that it may be military intelligence sheds an entirely different light on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to be someone with close ties to the Trump administration. There are photographs that are taken on Air Force One that are shown, things like that, that just people who are looking at the post can't figure out how anyone would get that type of access to the president if they weren't part of the team.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and so with that kind of access, so what is the purpose? What is the ultimate purpose of Q? What's the purpose?
Yeah, the purpose is a back channel bypassing the mainstream media, because what we've seen just in the last couple of months is Twitter has started to editorialize the president. So if he says something that goes against their arbitrary terms and conditions regarding information about coronavirus or whatever, or every time he says something about there being fraud with mail-in ballots, they will editorialize and put a little message under the president that says, well, actually what the president says is false, and according to the CDC and the World Health Organization and our fact checkers that we hired, and and that's scary. That is really scary, that we are at the point now where the president can't say something directly to the public without going through that filter of billionaire shareholder controlled corporations. And so what we're afraid of and what we believe might happen is that they will actually stop the ability for the president to communicate directly. And they already really have. I already told you I've been censored. And so with less and less ability to communicate directly, And even with Fox News, they're supposedly conservative, but you can't mention the word George Soros. You saw the Fox News commentator moderate the debate. It was ridiculously biased. So the best way to have a back channel directly to the public is exactly what they did, which is the last bastion of free speech, the anonymous messaging boards.
And these anonymous messaging boards, because 4chan no longer exists, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
That's
now
right.
is it 8chan, or where is this housed? Because I've tried to look for these Q drops before, and I found a lot of sites where the Q drops are listed, but they don't seem to list them on a daily basis. So for somebody who's watching this, and for me, myself, where do you go to follow Q? How do you get the information?
Well, just the sheer effort that the deep state has gone through to shut down QAnon is kind of proof that there's some legitimacy to it. So 4chan was attacked. They had to move to 8chan. That was attacked. They had to start a new anonymous messaging board called 8kun.net. That's where Q posts. If you want to find the posts at their very root level, you go to 8kun.net. But, you know, this is a place where they have all kinds of crazy stuff. So I really don't recommend going to the boards because you're going to be overwhelmed with all kinds of weird content that's only adults only content. So what I like to do is to go to one of these aggregator sites that pulls the posts from Q and just puts them in one place in a searchable format. And you can go to qanon.pub to search through all of Q's posts. Almost 5,000 posts over 3 years. It would probably take you about a day or a couple of hours to read through all of these thousands of posts.
Well, you know, I don't think that we have that much time. I mean, I don't have that kind of time between, you know, my TV shows, my radio show, being here and reaching out to my audience and giving them information. You know, can our audience follow you? Should I follow you? What should we do? Because I want the Q information, but I can't do that. I can't invest that time.
I have a free ebook for beginners. It's called QAnon for Beginners. So on my site, QAnonFAQ.com, you can get the free ebook. I also have a free video course. So I have about 20 videos that are 3 minutes each that break down all the frequently asked questions about QAnon.
Amazing.
And so there is now, a political concern being raised that there are some people running for Congress who have embraced Q. And so as a result of them doing that, the argument goes, they are not fit for office. What say you?
Well, this is just a psychological warfare kind of thing, information warfare. You have so many hundreds and perhaps thousands of news articles denouncing QAnon, but I haven't really seen any of them with journalistic integrity. So people really don't even know what QAnon is, what QAnon has said. QAnon uses these Socratic methods. So really it's just trying to get a person to deduce for themselves their own conclusions. So there's no ideology, there's no figurehead. So this is just a way of stopping critical thinking when they do something like that.
Yeah, and you know, as a law professor who is often criticized for using the Socratic method, I completely get that. However, I hear some concerns, which is oftentimes where the left goes. This concern is they're saying, it's a white supremacist organization. And so
that's frankly what they say about everything.
Yeah, well, it is. And so my question, someone actually brought it up on a panel I was on earlier this week. And of course, there's the only Republican on the panel. So I said, okay. And so your evidence for that is what? So point me to specifically what was said. Well, they're hiding what was said. I said, so what you just said made absolutely no sense. If they're hiding what was said, how do you know that there was
QAnon has 5,000 posts. You can search for them by keyword. You can read every one of them, and you'll never find any evidence of hatred. Really, this whole narrative and everything that QAnon's about is to try to get the public to just let the law enforcement and the military take care of any type of insurrection that might pop up. And it's funny to use that word now because QAnon was talking about organized riots before what has happened in recent months. And so that's one of the main purposes of QAnon, to unite people, to get people to unify. QAnon really talks a lot about how the left's playbook is really about dividing people, identity politics, pitting people against each other by race, gender, religion, and so forth. And so by reading these 5,000 drops, you really do come to understand the left's playbook. And I think the left's scared of that.
That's amazing. And, one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of these drops, and I think, again, I need to definitely get your ebook, and I'm going to read up on all of these drops so I can see that perspective, because there's been so much that seems sort of far-fetched and crazy, where there have been a lot of promises of this great awakening and things that are going to, form a radical change. And here we are, and we're just a few weeks away from the election. And a lot of the things that were kind of predicted that were going to happen don't seem like they've necessarily happened.
Right. Yeah, some of the things have been predicted as indictments of people who were involved with Spygate. And so far, we've only had one indictment, one arrest, one guilty plea with Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI lawyer. But that's something that QAnon has put out there, that there will be justice for these treasonous, seditious people who were infiltrated our institutions. This is an insurrection. This is a revolution. This is an insurgency within our own institutions.
I hope that in large part a lot of this is right, because there's so many things that seem to be wrong with the DOJ, in my own opinion and my own experience, and so much corruption and so much that needs to be fixed. And I've been excitedly waiting for these indictments and other things that Q has promised. And I feel a little bit let down that it hasn't happened in the timeline that I thought that it would.
We all want the arrest to happen on day one. I mean, I remember back when Trump was accusing Hillary during the 2016 campaign, saying, "Hey, if it was up to me, you'd be in jail. I'm going to have a special prosecutor look into your foundation, your email scandal, all the things that you've done, Uranium One scandal." There's so much that Hillary's involved with. And so I think that's normal for all of us to want the bad guys to get justice, for them to be held accountable. But you know what? The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn over time. And we have to have faith in our institutions that they will take care of it over time. I believe that AG Barr is an excellent attorney general, and that he's got this under control. John Durham's been doing this for years now, and he has the ability, the skill, and the integrity to do this. And I believe this is coming down to military precision planning to the October surprises, because how else can you make the Democrats look worse than indicting half of them?
That would be amazing. I'm hoping that's the October surprise. I've been holding out hope, and I've been waiting. And then all of a sudden today, I'm noticing that, I'm looking at Twitter and I'm thinking, okay, we're getting into the week of October, the first week of October. We're here now, and we got a few more weeks, but I'm hoping that that's going to happen.
I hope it happens in October, but you know what? I believe Donald Trump's going to get reelected. I believe that we will have a mandate, because we're going to have Republicans in control of a lot of things. And so I believe that that's also a good time for these things to occur once we already have the mandate. So it's fine with me. I kind of trust the plan and trust the military, and I trust the Trump administration to do this, because they have the most intelligent. They've war gamed all of this stuff out and decided the best timing for it.
Great. So Sean, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you, to get more clarification on the Q, as we call it. And it seems to me that, based on what you said, it is a methodology to help people decide for themselves based on a series of inquiries. And so it is not leading them to a particular conclusion. Rather, it is simply using a method of inquiry to getting them to a logical conclusion should they decide to do so. At least that's what it seems to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks instead of statements. I think one of the reasons is the reasons that you said, to encourage critical thinking. But I think another reason is that if the military does give the public a whole bunch of information, it could be in violation of national security laws.
Yes.
So there's a lot of care taken to not cross that boundary.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
So, Sean,
it sounds so reasonable. This
Yeah.
was such a reasonable Q conversation. I'm so glad we had you on, Sean, because this was not what I expected. This was very reasonable and very understandable the way that you put it.
Yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You got to read these posts for yourself. They're extremely lucid, extremely reasonable. They're extremely sophisticated, which is what makes me really believe that this is a state actor and, you know, at the level of the U.S. military.
Okay, Sean, thanks again. Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Wow. I learned a lot here. This was enlightening today. I needed this. I don't know if I'm going to fully start buying like the Q shirt or exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to have to absorb a lot of this. I'm going to take a little time to sleep on all of this, but wow.
Yeah, I thought the information was fascinating. I'm not all cued in, but I think it's an opportunity to really observe what was said, think about it, and particularly over the weekend while I'm brunching, as I do every weekend. And that brunching, of course, includes liquid brunching. It would be the
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this brunching. Let's go back though, because you just dated the show as if it's a Friday.
Oh.
So let's go back.
Oh God, yeah. I know.
I'm like, can we just talk about how you have liquid lunch? Can we go back and talk about that? So let's go from there, and let's say I'm really excited about, you know, my lunch tomorrow. I'm going to be drinking at lunch.
Yeah. Okay. And so I am very excited about my brunch tomorrow, because, you know, for me, brunch, the food's great. I love the food, but guess what's better? Liquid brunching. And folks, I'm not just talking about mimosas. Oh, I don't know. There's rum punch. There's look,
That's
I'm from
great.
the Caribbean.
I was going to say you're a Caribbean. When you said rum, that was exactly where I was going with it. So I know, you know, do they drink, like, is it Gosling's? Gosling's is the ginger beer, right? But Gosling's makes rum too?
Yes, they do. They do. And in fact, with the, you know, I got to make a rum punch for you, because
You do.
But I have to warn you though, when I make this rum punch for you, you may not leave the house because this rum, it's from Grenada. And when you're coming from Grenada, you cannot, and I am 100% serious about this, you cannot put the rum on board. You cannot put it in the overhead bin. They have to store it below. It's 100% proof.
So it's like Everclear alcohol is what we used to call it, like in college. We used to drink that Everclear alcohol. Somebody would always bring that to the party. It's basically like moonshine or gasoline.
Yeah, either one, same thing.
Yeah, is this what your grandmother puts in her flask? And how is your grandma doing?
Oh, she's doing so much better. Thank you for asking. She does put that in her flask. And so oftentimes during the day, if I'm at home, I usually work from home on Wednesdays, and she says, okay, are you finished working? I'm like, no, I'm still working. Well, this will help.
That's great. Chris, I want your grandma on the show, and I know I say this pretty often, but now that she's getting better, we need to have her on the show. I want to know, does she agree with your political opinions?
Oh, she does 100%. I got them from her.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm holding you to that. I know a lot of our audience is going to hold you to that, because we want your grandma on the show, and we want to do a drinking episode where we drink with your grandmother. Yes, absolutely, because I'm going to tell you right now, my political views were shaped by her. I love it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And this has been a great episode. I've learned a lot. Everybody can catch up with us every week. We're on iHeart, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, we're all over social media, anywhere you want to reach us. We thank you so much for watching Red America Radio. All the opinions expressed on this show are the products of the hosts and the guests, and not necessarily our sponsors or the broadcast networks that we're affiliated with. I've been told that I have to give this disclaimer by our lawyers now, so that's my disclaimer. I fit it in, and now we're good to go.
We're good to go. Thanks, folks, for joining us for yet another great episode of Red America Radio.
You have been listening to Red America Radio. Straight up conservative talk for today's red-blooded America.